everyone, so today we're going to learn about third line of defense, and we are going to discuss first about the components that involve in this defense mechanism. So let us discuss on adaptive immune response, or also known as acquired immunity. Adaptive immune response is a specific defense system, which is also known as a third line of defense. It detects a very specific pathogens, such as bacteria or virus, using a small groups of receptor proteins that can be found embedded on their cell membrane. Shown here are the examples of pathogens, which are bacterium and virus. Embedded on the surface of the cell membrane is this specific protein, which is known as antigens. So our immune response will identify the antigen and elicit an immune response which is finally going to destroy this pathogen. Adaptive immune response is a slower response as compared to innate immune response because it takes time to learn about the new invaders before the immune system kicks in. Adaptive immune response is activated after innate immunity takes effect. When the infection begins, so basically the innate immunity is the first one that kicks in and uses non-specific mechanism such as inflammatory immune response, or maybe they are secreting specific microbial proteins such as interferons to destroy pathogens and prevent them from spreading. So basically after that, adaptive immune response begins to mobilize and begins to gear up to fight up the infection. Adaptive immune response can be found in all vertebrates, and they are divided into two types: antibody-mediated immunity, which is also known as humoral immune response, and cell-mediated immunity. Let us discuss on adaptive immune response. The two types of adaptive immune response in our third line of defense are antibody-mediated immunity and cell-mediated immunity. The key cells in our adaptive immune response are lymphocytes. And the two lymphocytes, which are very important in our adaptive immune response, are B lymphocytes or B cells and T lymphocytes or T cells. Adaptive mediated immunity involves the activation and clonal selection of B cells, which are going to secrete antibody. What will antibody do? It will circulate in our blood or lymph and bind to the antigen. Once they bind to the antigen, it will neutralize them, or either the binding causes it easily to be marked by other leukocytes, such as macrophage, that will come and destroy the antigen. For cell-mediated immunity, it involves the activation and clonal selection of cytotoxic T cells that are going to recognize and destroy the pathogen. So basically, cytotoxic T cells will go to the infected region and destroy the infected cells. And not only that, they may be going to destroy cells that are altered by mutation or cancerous cells. These are the major characteristics of adaptive immune response. The immune response has a rapid response to a second exposure to the same antigen. So basically, during the first infection of a pathogen, our immune system takes several days to activate and to destroy the pathogen. However, if the same pathogen reinfects the body for the second time, the defense mechanisms are extremely effective and faster due to the presence of memory cells. Second, the adaptive immune response will be able to detect antigens never before encountered. If, let's say, the antigen first time infect the body, our immune system will develop a primary immune response. And if, let's say, the same antigen infect our body, our secondary immune response will be developed. Third, our adaptive immune response able to distinguish or recognize or differentiate self from non-self. Okay, the ability to recognize which one is our own cells or which one is foreign cells is due to the presence of macromolecule on the surface of the membrane of the pathogen. Our immune cells, such as the lymphocytes, will be able to recognize them and as a foreign. the immune system will start to attack on them. Anything that the immune system can detect and attack is called antigen. And the fourth one, the cell proliferation increases the number of the lymphocytes, which are B cells, and T cells, which are specific for the antigen. Once the lymphocytes are in contact with the antigen that it is capable of recognizing, it will activate and multiply into a large number of cells called clone. Each number of the clone carries the same receptor and same antigen specifically as the original lymphocytes. There are many cells involved in adaptive immune responses. There are two key cell types in this, which are lymphocytes and antigen-presenting cells, or APC. The examples of APC are macrophage, dendritic cells, and B cells as well. The lymphocytes include T lymphocytes, or T cells, and B lymphocytes, or B cells. T cells and B cells recognize antigens, and they are the key cells of adaptive immune responses. Both lymphocytes produce from stem cells in the bone marrow. However, their maturation sites are different. For example, B cells continue their maturation and development in the bone marrow. What happens during maturation? The B cell will synthesize a specific protein on the cell membrane called the B cell receptor. T cells will move from bone marrow and mature in the thymus gland. What happens during their journey from the bone marrow to the thymus gland? T cells will differentiate and produce specific protein on the cell membrane called the T cell receptor. After maturation, both lymphocytes will roam in tissues and organs of the lymphatic system to induce immune response if, let's say, there is a pathogen. The examples of organs of the lymphatic systems are tonsil, spleen, or maybe lymph nodes. If, let's say, there is a pathogen, the lymphocyte will bind to the antigen at the surface of the pathogen and will undergo clonal selection to produce clone of immune cells.